Every man reaches a point in his life where he stands at a crossroads. He may not talk about it. He may not even admit it to himself, but he feels it. A quiet pull toward a path he has avoided for years. It happens in the moments when the noise fades, when the house is silent, when the job stops distracting him. When he finally has to face the truth he has been postponing. There is a journey he was meant to take, and he has not taken it. In The Alchemist, everything begins with this inner calling, not a voice from the sky, not a dramatic sign, just a simple, persistent feeling that refuses to die. The book tells the story of a young shepherd who leaves everything behind to follow a dream he does not fully understand. But the story is not really about him. It is about every man who knows there is something more, yet keeps living as if there is not. You do not need to read the book to understand this, because the calling it describes is the same calling you have felt in your own life. The dream you buried because you had responsibilities, the direction you ignored because it seemed impractical, the change you feared because it would demand a different version of you. And that is the real reason you have avoided the journey. You do not fear the path itself. You fear the man you will have to become in order to walk it. The greatest danger in a man's life is not losing his way. It is never leaving the place where he knows he does not belong. The journey you avoid is the one your life has been begging you to take. And until you face it, no amount of success, stability, or comfort will silence the question inside you. When will you start living the story that was meant to be yours? In the early pages of The Alchemist, a mysterious old man appears. His name is Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He meets the young shepherd, looks him straight in the eye, and reveals something most men never question. He says there is a lie the world teaches everyone as they grow older. The world's greatest lie is this, that at some point a man's life is no longer his to shape. You do not need to know the story to feel the weight of that sentence, because every man eventually reaches an age where he stops believing he can choose again. He starts thinking in terms of obligations, not possibilities. Stability becomes more important than direction. Predictability becomes more comfortable than purpose. This is why men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s begin to feel a quiet heaviness. They think they must keep the job even if it drains them. They think they must stay the same because people depend on them. They believe changing course is irresponsible, even if staying the same is slowly killing them on the inside. So they shrink, not dramatically, not all at once, a little each year, until one day they can no longer tell whether they are living by choice or just maintaining a life built on momentum. This is what burnout really is. Not exhaustion from working too hard, but the spiritual fatigue of living a life you never truly claimed. Melchizedek's message cuts right through this illusion. A man does not lose his destiny. He only stops claiming it. Your life did not stop being yours. You simply got used to following a script that was never written for your soul. And the longer you stay on that script, the quieter your real path becomes. But it never disappears. It waits for the moment you finally remember that you still have a choice. If this is your first time here, ThinkMate is where we question what others accept. That's the kind of mind we build this channel for. Subscribe if you want more. Now, back to it. In The Alchemist, everything revolves around one idea. It is the idea most men feel but rarely name: the personal legend. A personal legend is the reason you were born, not the job you ended up with, not the role others placed on your shoulders, and not the version of yourself you settled for. It is the deepest direction your life keeps pointing toward, even when you try to ignore it. For Santiago, the young shepherd, it shows up as a dream that repeats night after night. A dream that refuses to disappear no matter how simple or predictable his life seems. That dream becomes the signal that he is meant for something more. You do not need to be a shepherd to understand this. Every man has felt a similar pull, a quiet sense that there is something he is supposed to build, learn, become or pursue, something he thinks about when no one is watching, something he carries like a hidden truth. For some men, it is the urge to change careers. For others, it is the desire to move to a new place, to start something of their own, or to finally follow a passion they abandoned years ago. Whatever form it takes, it shares one trait. It does not go away, and that is how you know it is real. A real personal legend does not make you comfortable. It makes you restless. It shakes your certainty. It keeps returning, asking the same question. When will you stop surviving and begin becoming who you were meant to be? Most men are not confused about their direction. They are afraid of admitting the truth of it. Because once you admit it, you can no longer hide behind the life you have outgrown. In The Alchemist, there is an idea that confuses many people until they see it inside their own life. The idea of omens. Omens are not magic signs or supernatural messages. They are meaningful coincidences, moments that appear at the exact time you need direction, pushing you toward the path you keep avoiding. For Santiago, the story's young shepherd, omens show up as small encounters. A stranger who appears with the right words, a sudden opportunity that opens when he has nothing left, a situation that forces him to choose between staying safe and moving toward his dream. None of these moments are dramatic. They are simply too precise to ignore. In real life, omens often look even simpler. A thought that keeps returning no matter how hard you try to silence it. A job opportunity that arrives exactly when you start feeling trapped. A conversation with someone who says the one thing you needed to hear. A moment of frustration so strong it forces you to ask whether you can keep living this way. Most men experience omens without ever recognizing them. Not because the signs are unclear, but because they have trained themselves not to look. They tell themselves they are not worthy of change. They fear breaking the stability they worked so hard to build. They were taught to be realistic, practical, and quiet about their desires. So when an omen appears, they call it coincidence. When a door opens, they convince themselves they are not ready. When life nudges them toward their personal legend, they turn away because the nudge feels like risk. But omens do not exist to make you feel special. They exist to wake you up, to shift your attention toward the path you already know is yours. They become visible only when you are finally willing to pay attention, because life is always communicating. Most men are simply too afraid to listen. In alchemy, there is a stage called nigredo, the blackening. It is the moment everything familiar breaks apart so that something new can be created. The alchemist uses this idea not as a theory, but as a lived experience through Santiago's first major trial. Early in the story, after finally gathering the courage to leave home, Santiago is robbed. He loses every coin he has. Everything he counted on for safety disappears in a single moment. For someone who has never read the book, this scene may sound harsh, almost unfair, but it serves one purpose: to show that the first thing the journey destroys is the illusion you believed you needed to survive. Nigredo is not punishment, it is cleansing. It strips a man of the version of himself that would never make it to the other side. Every man who has tried to change his life knows this moment. Losing a job you thought defined you. Watching a relationship fall apart right when you needed support the most. Facing a failure that shatters your confidence. Feeling a level of disorientation you cannot explain to anyone. These moments are not random. They are the breaking of the old structure, the death of the life that kept you small. But here is what most men misunderstand. They think pain means they chose the wrong direction. They think loss means they should turn back. They think the journey is rejecting them. In reality, the journey is refining them. Nigredo forces you to stand without your usual crutches. It takes away what you leaned on so you can discover what you actually are. Growth does not begin when you feel strong. It begins the moment everything you thought made you secure is taken away. The desert does not welcome the man you were. It welcomes the man you are about to become. And Negredo is the threshold every man must cross before he can walk any further. After surviving his first collapse, Santiago meets a man who represents the fate most men quietly fall into, the crystal merchant. For those who have never read The Alchemist, the merchant is not a villain. He is a warning. He is a man who once had a dream as real as Santiago's, a dream to travel to Mecca, the place he believed would complete his life. But he waited. He postponed. He told himself the timing was never right. And year after year, the dream remained a fantasy he used for comfort rather than direction. By the time Santiago meets him, the merchant has built a stable business, a predictable routine, and a life that looks respectable from the outside. But inside, he is hollow, not because he failed, but because he never tried. This is the danger the alchemist wants men to see. Some men do not lose their personal legend. They simply outgrow the courage required to follow it. So they protect the dream like a fragile memory, afraid that if they pursue it and fail, they will have nothing left to hold on to. In real life, the crystal merchant appears as the man who talks about what he wants to do someday, but never takes the first step. The man who tells himself he will change after the kids grow up, after the job gets easier, after life becomes less demanding. But the years pass, and the dream becomes a story he tells instead of a life he lives. Regret does not arrive all at once. It builds slowly, the way dust collects on a shelf, 1 year at a time. Some men protect their dream just so they never have to live it, but that protection is a cage. And if you are not careful, you will wake up one day and realize you have become the crystal merchant yourself. When Santiago finally moves forward, he enters the desert. The Alchemist does not describe it as a beautiful place. It is harsh, silent, unforgiving. For anyone who has never read the book, the desert is not just sand and heat. It is a symbol. It represents the stage of a man's life where everything familiar disappears, and he is left alone with himself. In the desert, Santiago cannot rely on the routines he used to trust. He cannot distract himself with noise. He cannot escape through comfort. Every step forces him inward, toward a truth he can no longer avoid. He must learn to listen to his own heart. Most men reach a desert long before they know its name. It shows up as the sudden emptiness that hits in midlife. The mornings when you wake up disconnected from your work, your goals, even your old ambitions. The evenings when nothing excites you the way it used to. The quiet sense that the life you built is too small for the man you are becoming. This is the desert, not a place, but a condition. A stripping away of everything that used to define you. A silence that exposes every fear you tried to outrun. And though it feels like punishment, it is the opposite. The desert removes the voices of the world so you can finally hear your own. It forces you to confront the questions you pushed aside for years. Who am I without my job? Who am I without my reputation? Who am I when I stop pretending everything is fine? Identity begins to melt in the desert. Old beliefs lose their grip. Old ambitions lose their shine. What remains is the man beneath the noise, the man you were before the world buried you under expectations. The Alchemist shows that the desert does not kill a man, it reveals him. It strips away everything that is not truly his, so that the essential part can emerge. If your life feels silent, empty, or unfamiliar right now, you are not lost. You are in the desert, and the desert is not the end. It is the place where your real transformation begins. In the silence of the desert, Santiago faces something he cannot outrun. Fear. Not fear of danger, but fear of what the journey is demanding from him. In The Alchemist, the fear of suffering is described as worse than the suffering itself. Anyone who has ever stood on the edge of a difficult decision knows exactly what that means. Men rarely fear pain. They fear what pain might expose. They fear losing the identity they spent years building. They fear stepping into a life where they can no longer hide behind certainty, reputation, or routine. For most men, the imagined version of suffering is far more terrifying than the real thing. This is why so many never move. They picture everything that could go wrong. They imagine the embarrassment of failing. They imagine the judgment of others. They imagine losing the stability they spent years constructing. So fear becomes a cage, not because it is strong, but because they feed it with their imagination. In Santiago's case, fear becomes the barrier between who he is and who he could become. He realizes that every step forward demands that he shed another layer of the man he used to be. And this is the truth most men avoid. The right path will not be painless. It will demand a cost. But the cost is always smaller than the one you pay for staying where you do not belong. Most men wait for fear to disappear before they make a change. They wait for clarity, courage, or permission. But fear never goes first. In every real transformation, fear walks ahead of you like a guard dog, warning you that you are close to the edge of the life you were meant to live. Fear is not the sign you should stop. It is the sign you are finally approaching something real. As Santiago continues through the desert, he finally encounters the figure who gives the book its name, the Alchemist. For anyone who has never read the story, he is not a magician. He is not a wise old man with all the answers. He is something more demanding. He is the representation of what a man becomes when he has mastered himself. The alchemist does not guide Santiago by comforting him. He does not soften the path or remove obstacles. Instead, he exposes the truth Santiago has avoided. The journey is not about finding treasure, but about becoming someone capable of recognizing it. One of the most striking moments in the story is when the alchemist asks Santiago to perform the impossible, to turn himself into the wind. On the surface, this sounds like fantasy, but the meaning is simple and powerful. The alchemist is forcing him to break the final boundary of who he believes he is. He is teaching him that transformation is not intellectual, it is existential. A man becomes free the moment he stops defining himself by his fear. This is the point most men never reach. They assume growth is about adding more knowledge, more skill, more discipline. But the alchemist shows something different. Real growth requires dissolving the identity that has kept you small, letting go of the version of yourself built from past failures, old narratives, and inherited expectations. Santiago does not survive the desert because he becomes strong. He survives because he becomes clear. He learns that the world bends for the man who is no longer at war with himself. And here is the true lesson. The alchemist is not a character you meet on a journey. He is the man you become when you stop running from your own potential. You do not seek treasure. You seek the man who can handle it. And until you meet that version of yourself, nothing you find will ever feel like enough. Not long after meeting the alchemist, Santiago encounters something many men fear even more than failure: love. But the alchemist treats love differently from the way most stories do. It does not portray love as something that saves you from your journey. It shows love as something that strengthens you to continue it. For those who have never read the book, Fatima is a woman Santiago meets at a desert oasis. She is calm, steady, grounded. She represents the type of love that does not demand possession or sacrifice of purpose. Instead, she understands something most people never do. A man cannot give real love if he abandons himself to offer it. When Santiago tells her about his destiny, she does not hold him back. She does not ask him to choose between her and his personal legend. She tells him a simple truth. If it is your destiny, you must go. And if it is meant for us, you will return. This challenges the belief many men carry, that duty to others should replace duty to their own becoming. That staying is always the responsible choice. That love means shrinking, so the relationship feels safe. But the alchemist offers a different definition. Real love is not a cage. Real love does not fear your evolution. Real love understands that a man who betrays his soul can never be fully present with anyone. Fatima does not love Santiago for who he is in the moment. She loves who he is trying to become. And that kind of love does not pull a man away from his journey. It sends him deeper into it. After crossing the desert, surviving fear, and meeting the alchemist, Santiago reaches what he believes is the final destination, the place where the treasure should be. But the story does something unexpected. It sends him back to the very place where his journey began. For anyone who has never read The Alchemist, this moment can seem strange. Why would a story built on travel, risk, and transformation bring the hero home again? But that is the point. The journey was never about the distance he traveled. It was about the distance he traveled within himself. When Santiago returns to the abandoned church where he had slept as a shepherd, he digs beneath the roots of a tree. And there, buried in the dirt, he finds the treasure he had been chasing across continents. Not because the treasure was always there in a literal sense, but because he finally became the man who could recognize it. This is the lesson the alchemist wants men to see. You do not need a new life to feel alive. You need new eyes. You need the clarity that comes from struggle, loss, fear, silence, and growth. You need the perspective that only a real journey can carve into your soul. Most men think they must leave everything forever to find what they want. But often, the thing they are searching for is already around them, hidden beneath layers of routine, distraction, and the identity they outgrew. The treasure is not a location, it is perception. And only the man who has been broken open by the journey can see what was always his. You return home not to find treasure, but to finally recognize it, because the place stays the same. You don't. Every man knows there is a journey he was meant to take. Some spend their whole lives avoiding it. Others step toward it only when the weight of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of changing. But the truth is simple. You cannot outrun the path that was meant for your soul. The Alchemist is not a story about treasure. It is a story about remembering who you are. It is about the moment a man stops living by momentum and begins living by intention. It is about recognizing that the fear you have been avoiding is the door you were meant to walk through. Most men wait for a sign, for clarity, for courage, for permission. But life does not reward waiting. It rewards movement. Only when Santiago stepped forward did the world begin to shift around him. Only when he accepted the cost did the path begin to reveal itself. This is what the book means when it says the universe conspires. It does not carry you. It meets you. It responds to the man who finally responds to himself. You are not saved when you reach your destination. You are not saved when you find what you were looking for. You are saved the moment you choose the path you have feared, because that is the moment you stop living someone else's life and begin living your own. The journey you fear most will save your life, but only if you take the first step. If this made you see the world a little clearer, stay. Think deeper. This is ThinkMate.